switching fingers. I'm like, yeah.
Hey, Nick Bowcott with Sweetwater here. We're backstage at the Alice Cooper show with the one, the only, the hurricane, Nita Strauss. She's been good enough to take some time over a busy day doing laundry.
It is laundry day, yeah.
It is, actually. We just saw her thing. We'll show it later. It's pretty cool. One of the coolest laundry bags I've ever seen.
It is a cool laundry
But
bag.
talking of cool things, let's talk about this. This is the first female signature Ibanez guitar ever. And
Yes.
it's hers. So tell us all about it.
It's all mine, and soon it can be yours, but this one is mine. There are many other guitars like it, but this one is mine. This is the Ibanez Jiva 10. If you guitar players watching are like me, you've been designing your signature guitar in your head since you started playing the guitar. And even if you hadn't imagined it as a signature, you get a new guitar and you go, man, this is a great guitar if it only had an ebony fretboard, if it only had these pickups, if it only had, this one spec different. So I was lucky enough to work with the amazing people at Ibanez to design my dream guitar, and that is this beautiful lady right here. This is the Jeeva 10. The specs, she has a mahogany body, quilted maple top, ebony fretboard. You can see a little cool Easter egg about the fretboard is the beaten path inlay, which I love, not only because it's sort of the pulse of the guitar is the extension of yourself. Sometimes I feel like my guitar has a life of its own. This one definitely does.
Mine does.
It does what it wants.
It runs away.
So,
We'll try to.
But the thing I like about it, if you notice, the heartbeat, the EKG spikes correspond to the normal fret markers, so 3, 5, 7, and so forth, which means it gets faster.
So it speeds up as you get higher.
As you get higher, which is where the magic happens.
Look at that. Subliminal magic right there in the form of a heartbeat.
I couldn't have planned that any better.
I gotta say, at the risk of being obsequious, this finish is great, and there's a wonderful story behind it. Blonde to black.
Yes.
Tell the tale of how this sunburst came to be.
So I have never seen a black to natural maple burst before. I looked, I Googled, I searched. I'm sure it has been done. There's nothing that hasn't ever been done, but I've never seen it. And Josh, my boyfriend, and I were sitting at lunch with Larry from DiMarzio, and we were going over some ideas. These are my signature DiMarzio pickups, which we'll talk about in a moment. But we were talking about the guitar, and I kept saying that I wanted something that was uniquely me. I wanted something that was mine. I don't want another purple guitar. Everyone was surprised. Pink, I'm a girl. It has to be pink. But I do play a purple S series a lot, which I'll show you guys shortly. A lot of people sort of know me for having a purple guitar. Yeah. My custom shop is sort of purpley black, and I don't want another purple guitar. I wanted something that's uniquely mine. And Larry took a look at me across the lunch table and he said, well, look at you. You're wearing all black leather, black leather jacket, blonde hair, black eye makeup, like black and blonde. And so the concept was born, the black and blonde burst, which I absolutely love because it is sort of uniquely me. I haven't seen it a lot. I'm not really a pink person, if you could tell. I'm a sort of neutral dark.
Neutral black.
Yeah, neutral black.
Is that such a thing?
It is now.
Yeah.
And I like it because it's pretty, but it's not feminine. No. It's not girly. It's badass and cool. A guy wouldn't look out of place playing it. A girl wouldn't look out of place playing it. A pink guitar is a statement. A purple guitar is a statement, and this is a statement in and of itself. But it's not really one that I find to be super gender specific.
It's kind of pretty without being pretty.
Yeah.
Did that make sense?
It's pretty. Like the gem is pretty, and I don't find the gem to be feminine.
The other thing I was going to say, your heartbeat thing here, the beaten path, I think you call it.
The beaten path, yeah.
The name Jeeva, even though it reads Jiva. Jiva, that's a Hindu word. What does it mean? Because it ties into what you've just talked about.
Yeah, so the definition essentially of the Jiva is it's your life force. It's the part of you that continues on after the physical body is gone.
So it's immortal.
It's immortal, and I feel like that's how your music is. I feel like, any art that you create, whether it's your music, whether it's painting, whatever it is, that's what you leave the world with after you're gone. And what better way to immortalize something I hope to leave the music industry with than, that's a little morbid, I don't mean it like that. but I do feel like, excuse me, I do feel like your guitar has a life of its own, like we said earlier, and I tried to express that as much as I could with the design.
That's cool. It's a nice story.
Yeah, from the matching headstock to the I just want it to be very streamlined. You know, a lot of times it's kind of incongruous when a guitar has like a, you know, a pretty burst and a black headstock. I want it to look like its own living thing as much as I possibly could.
What makes you go ebony board versus rosewood or maple? Because
Well,
it's a maple neck, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's got the Purple Heart and maple. And I like the ebony board. I mean, definitely for aesthetics. You know, a bright maple board would look a little odd on this guitar.
Right.
I do love maple. I love a maple neck. But I like the tone wood of mahogany and ebony together. To me, it just gives this really rich, powerful sound. Maple's a little bright. It can be a little bright on something, you know, on a combination like this. It's got the quilted maple top, it's got the mahogany body, and you need the depth of the ebony, I think.
Plus, ebony matches your jacket.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Exactly.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, da, da, da. It's perfect.
Now the two pickups, we said these are your two Pandamonium pickups.
Yes, I'm going to put it on because this guitar is
knock
only
my head
7
off.
pounds, but I can only hold it for so long. And that's the other thing I love. It is only 7 pounds on the scale without this belt pack and all this stuff on it.
Cool.
So you can swing it around and throw it around and hold it on your shoulder for a very long time without really feeling it much.
It hit me in the chest, didn't even hurt.
Exactly.
That's how light
Sorry
it
about
is.
that.
No, it's good.
So yeah.
Sue. I'm going to sue you later.
Yeah,
but anyway.
sue, don't sue me. I was gonna say it's fine, sue me, but don't sue me. So yeah, these are the Pandamonium pickups designed by myself and Larry DiMarzio and the amazing Steve Blucher and Eric Corpus, the wizards over at DiMarzio. And the first thing I told them is I wanted it to be as if an Evolution and a Deactivator had a baby. And Larry said, got it, okay. Because it sort of makes sense. You know, an Evolution is a great pickup. It's been my go-to, and the Evolution and the Gravity Storm have been my go-to pickups for years. But they're a little hot. They're a little, you know, hard to control. An Evolution will run away. An Evolution will run away on you if you're not careful with it.
Even when
know.
you say it.
Even when you say it, the words run away. So I love. It's got that real tight, crisp feeling of the Deactivator. It's. You know, when you roll off the volume, it's really quiet for such a hot pickup.
Right.
But the sustain on this thing is absolutely incredible. Hopefully you guys can get some footage during the show and you can show those harmonics. It will just ring out. It's like Spinal Tap. You can go have a bite. You come back, it's still going.
And what about the middle pickup, the single coil?
The single coil is a True Velvet. I strongly believe that there has not been a better single coil pickup made in the history of pickups being made.
So you don't feel very strongly about it at all?
I feel very strongly about it, and I talked to DiMarzio about doing a signature single coil for the middle just to keep it, you know, signature across the board. And I told them I don't know how you can improve on a True Velvet, so I would rather just have a True Velvet. I don't want to remarket a True Velvet and try to act like I did something different to it, because in reality I wouldn't change a thing.
That's a true endorsement then.
Yeah, I really wouldn't change a single thing about it. The True Velvet to me is the absolute perfect single coil center pickup. And a big part of that is I use it a lot on the high frets, and I find that a lot of times these middle pickups tend to break up on the high frets when you're doing clean stuff. And we're playing that 70s Alice stuff, you know, we're doing Dwight Fry and whatnot. You need a really clean, nice single coil sound, and this definitely gives that.
Now I've got one thing to ask. The covers on these two pickups, your Pandamoniums, are really cool.
Thank you.
I believe there's a story behind said covers. Can
There
you
is a
explain?
story. So originally you'll see this is a little take on my Hurricane logo, which is kind of a, you know, a take on the traditional weather symbol for Hurricane. So we've got that in there. The original design actually just had the cutaway and a lot of empty space. And you know, the bright minds at Ibanez were concerned that someone would cut themselves on these sharp edges, like you invariably do. So we came up with the idea of putting something in between to sort of, you know, to fill in the space, if you will. And the interesting thing about what we have, childproof it, which with guitar players is a good idea. So it's interesting. I'm curious to hear what you guys see when you first look at this, because this is actually a ribbon mic cover. This is the design of the outside of a ribbon mic. But a lot of people, mostly girls, when they look at it, say, oh, it's lace, it's fishnet. So it's always interesting to me to see who says lace, who says ribbon mic cover. Usually tend to be slightly skewed. The guys usually say mic cover or, you know, something like that. Girls usually say lace. But every once in a while, you do get a guy that will say, oh, you put fishnet on it. And then you know how that guy's mind works.
There you have it. Guilty as charged. No, I'm kidding. And one quick question about the guitar.
Yeah.
Bolt on neck as opposed to neck through. Was that a decision you consciously made tonally or
very conscious
feel-wise?
decision, yes. And I will explain why. Let me take this strap off, and I will explain why. I have a reason. So my my LA Custom Shop S Series, I believe, is the only neck through S Series they've ever made. And I asked them for years, why did you ever make a neck through S?
Let me be your strap tech.
Oh, that's okay. I've got it right here. Why don't you do a neck through S? Why aren't you neck through S? And they said, oh, research and development and CNC and a whole bunch of other buzzwords.
Right.
And so when I got my custom shop made, that was the first thing I said. My custom shop is essentially this guitar with a different finish and a neck through construction. But the thing I've always loved about the S Series is the balance. You hold this guitar right here, right at the neck joint. Yeah, this is my little clinic trick. But you hold an S Series right here at the neck joint, and the balance is perfect. It is absolutely amazing. And when you get the neck through construction, it throws off that whole balance, which to me is the beauty of the S Series. So I feel like the bolt-on was the way to go. You don't lose any sustain, really. I mean, I'm sure there are minuscule differences, but with the mahogany and the ebony and everything else going on, I didn't miss it at all. And
it's
to
pros
me,
and cons, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pros and cons. And to me, the pros of the bolt-on far outweighed the weirdness of the feeling of the neck through.
So let's get on to strings. What gauge are you using for Alice?
10 to 46 in E flat. These are D'Addario NYXLs, the best strings in the entire world. I will say it till my dying breath. I love these strings. And if they ever stop making them, I don't know what I'm going to do. But yeah, NYXL.
Cry.
I will cry. I will actually cry like real tears.
Real tears, wow.
I will cry because I love these strings.
Another great endorsement.
Yes.
As soon as it sounds, how thick are your picks? Because that affects attack and...
Yeah, they're 0.60.
Pretty light then.
Yeah, pretty light. I use a company called Grover Allman that make these picks in Australia. And I like these ones especially because you can kind of feel the way they print on them has a little bit of a grip to it.
Oh, that's cool.
It's not like, it's not like a grip like those cheese ones where it's like a real grip,
yeah.
But it's just got a little bit of texture to it, which you feel a lot as opposed to a completely smooth pick.
Yeah, that's going to help, definitely.
Yeah. And I chose 0.60 because Paul Gilbert gave me one of his picks at my first NAMM, and it was a Tortex 0.60 orange pick, and I've used that gauge ever since.
We just did something with Paul at Sweetwater, actually, and his picks are even, I think they're 0.4 or something ridiculous.
Really?
But you can't tell. You get such a fat tone.
Oh, it's amazing, yeah.
He was playing 8s as well. It was ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah, unbelievable.
What? Sacrilege.
Sound this big. It was,
That's
but
amazing.
it's Paul.
He can do whatever he wants, but I'm surprised that the strings don't just break under his gigantic hands.
Yeah, he's got quite a reach, that man.
Yeah, I once put my hand up next to his hand, may I? And it looked like this. He had 2 full knuckles higher than my hand, so I was very impressed.
But he's still articulate.
Yes.
On the high frets, which gets me.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. There will never be another Paul Gilbert.
So from guitar to wireless, obviously.
Yep, the wireless is over here. It's a Shure UR4D. This wireless has stood with me through thick and thin, from small clubs to theaters like this one to 100,000 plus festivals. Never goes down, never goes out of range. Anybody that sees me knows I will run sometimes very far away from my wireless, and it's held up through absolutely everything.
So from wireless to where? To the multi-selector, I guess?
Yeah, multi-selector. I mean, you'd have to look. It's been so long since I wired this thing up. But yeah, the multi-selector is something I don't see in a lot of people's rigs. And I think it's so important to have something like that, to just be able to switch between guitars so effortlessly, to the point where sometimes I'll ring out a note and my tech Brian will switch. I'll ring out a note, hand him the guitar, hit the note on the new guitar, and he'll switch, and the note will stay continuous.
That's pretty cool.
So it's little things like that make a huge difference. You don't always have to remember to switch off the pack, hand off this and that, blah, 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 blah.
3 hours later.
3 hours later, and 600 double batteries. So the multi-selector was something that before I got this rack, I did not have. I had a huge 24-space rack without one of those, and once I got it, it was one of those things like, where have you been all my life?
Gotcha, cool.
Yeah.
And then you run into, you're obviously using the Marshall JVMs.
Marshall JVMs.
And you also have a Rocktron Prophecy 2 into the effects loops, don't you?
Yeah, the Prophecy, this is the exact unit I've had since 2008. This top one here. You can see there's only one missing little tiny button, and that is the only thing that's ever happened with it. I actually just got it back up last year. I've been carrying this exact unit around for 10 years now. And the thing's built like a tank. So many different racks, so many different things, and and I love it. It's so dialed in now. And
So Rotron, if you're watching, she needs a switch cap, please.
a switch cap for the pitch button, please.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you
They're
know,
all the same, right?
they're
Doesn't
all the
matter.
same. And I can just take the one off this one if I really need one. But I know what it does. And yeah, and so we've got a master controller up front. We've got a slave MIDI controller in the back. So every once in a while, Brian will do a pedal change for me, and that makes my life a lot easier out front. Sometimes, you know, when you have a good tech, my tech, Brian Satia, is an amazing tech.
He's been with Alice for nearly 12 years, he was telling me.
Yes, he has been with the
Amazing.
organization forever, so he knows the songs better than I do, I think. And
Probably better than Alice at this point.
I would definitely say so, yeah. At least the guitar parts. But the cool thing is Brian will kind of know instinctively when I usually do my change. He can't see me because he'll be right here. I'll be on the other side of this. So if he doesn't hear me do my change where I usually do, he'll kind of figure out that I'm not by my board, and he can hit whatever it is right here.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
I love that. And of course the JVM's Tried and Truth, Satriani series. If it's good enough for Satriani, it's good enough for me.
That's a good endorsement, isn't it? If it's
Oh,
good
yeah.
enough for Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't stink, that guy.
I've followed Satriani around, funny enough, from amp to amp, because I played a JSX for years.
Oh, that's funny.
I played a JSX for a long time, and then I had a Bogner Uberschall, which I loved, and then there was the dark ages of another amp company, and then I found my home at Marshall.
Cool. And you're running into regular 4x12s,
412
just
straight cabs,
75 watt Celestians.
Yeah.
I've heard your sound. It sounds huge.
It's a match made in heaven. It really
Now,
is.
is the Rotron Prophecy responsible for all your effects, or do you have anything else in
Yep,
loops?
all the effects.
That's it.
All the
Cool.
effects are coming through this. Like I said, I've had the same unit for so long. Everything is so dialed in.
So it's
you
kind
know.
of, even though it's kind of complex, but it's really quite simple.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, the guys have these real complex pedal boards. Everyone asks me about pedals all the time. They say, well, what do you think about this and that, and this company and that company? I say, I haven't used a pedal in 10 years. Like, you know, I just have it so dialed in that I know what works for me, and it's so easy for me. I know all the menus on this thing. Don't test me, but I basically know all the menus on this thing.
Trust
there
me,
are
I
a
know
lot
it,
of them. But you know, it's got an ADSR wah, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
It's got 12 string and 18 string. It's got compressors and harmonics and harmonizers, and you know, like literally just about anything you can think of in a pedal. Are there pedals that do certain things better? Of course.
Yeah.
You know, but this has been everything that I need for a very long time.
And how many guitar changes would you do during the course of a typical Alice show?
You know, I really only need to change once for drop D to standard.
Oh, really?
Or drop C sharp to drop E flat, as it were, because we're playing in E flat.
Gotcha.
But I change once more just for variety, because I
Gotcha.
like it. So we've got my drop D guitar here, which is actually both of these guitars, both the other guitars I'll show you today are acquired from my clinic tours. I have this bad habit of, well, not bad, good for me, bad for them,
Stealing,
maybe.
is it called? No.
Acquiring. So I go out, Ibanez will very graciously send me out to do guitar clinics, and these two, actually both, were my backup guitars. This one was my backup guitar in Canada, the purple one. This one was my backup in Japan. And both times I looked at the Ibanez guys, I said, yeah, I'm gonna need to keep this. and graciously in my contract, I am allowed a couple guitars every once in a while.
Cool.
So and these were a few years apart. It's not like it
Here, I'll
happens
hold
all the
this one
time.
for
Oh, thank you.
Please.
But yeah, so this one I just got last October in Japan, and that one was 2015 in Canada. And both times I just absolutely fell in love with them. I said, look, I can't leave without this. And,
Same pickup configuration?
no,
Or
these are
different?
actually standard because the
I was gonna say.
yeah, these are Gravity Storms and the True Velvet in the
Right.
middle, and these are actually stock. Those are hot grinders, which shocked me, but I didn't feel
I've
the
heard
need
you
to
play
change
this
it.
guitar. It sounds really
It
good.
sounds
So.
crazy good, right? I mean, you
It's
wouldn't
got some
think.
nice. It's got a little bit of weight to it. This one.
They're the same, but it's the
it's
the
just-
belt pack and all that stuff
That
on
must
it.
be really heavy then. Or,
It
just,
actually
or on a
is
whim.
kind of. No. This is here. Look, check
Or
this
it
out.
could be this pick.
Yeah, it's so heavy. There you go.
Oh wow, that does make a difference.
It's actually
See, I'm
surprisingly.
strong now. Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
strong. I've got the Vi strap on it, which I just realized I just did a photo shoot with this guitar. It does not match at all. I've been playing it like that for like a year, so that's how much I love Vi. I haven't changed it even after I realized that it didn't match. And this one has the Polyphia strap on it, which is another new DiMarzio thing, which I thought was really, really cool. Goes very well with this
That's very
guitar. That's why Brian does that, not me. Another cool thing about this one, which I've just got, is these Neck Illusion fretboard markers, which I am totally obsessed with this company. When you get an email, or for me especially, when I get an email from Jennifer Batten, who is like one of my greatest heroes and inspirations, telling me to check out this company, I was really skeptical because I thought stickers on your neck, like how could that possibly feel normal? But she said you didn't feel it. Vi uses them. Vi has a signature series with them. Jennifer also has a signature series. So I said I would try it, and I don't feel it at all.
I just tried it. It's remarkable.
Yeah, you don't feel a thing. It's smooth. It's smooth, but it's not any smoother than a maple neck or an ebony neck. You know, you feel it. You definitely. This is rosewood underneath there, so you feel a little difference there. But by and large, it's not also different. So yeah, I love this. It's kind of a cool way to dress up your guitar and change its look here and there. I'm going to be doing that throughout the course of the year. Cool.
So young lady, thanks for your time. I will see
you
you in a minute, and you can teach me some licks that I can't play.
I can try.
No, you can, you will.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.